Chapter 7 in Supply Chain Management. So, in Chapter 7 in Supply Chain Management, we continue some of our warehouse discussion from Chapter 6, and we start talking about the individual items within warehouses. So, we talk about materials management, but materials management is really just all of our raw materials and products that are inside warehouse. Like all other forms of supply chain management, our two top goals are to minimize cost while optimizing customer service. So, what policies and procedures can we put into place in order to minimize costs and optimize customer service? In fact, materials management is often one of the top costs that companies and organizations have. The formal definition of materials handling is the movement, protection, storage, and control of materials and products throughout the process of their manufacture and distribution, consumption, and disposal. So you can see that this covers a lot of activities from the manufacture, the creation of the product, to its distribution to our individual customers, use by customers, and then the eventual disposal. So, how do we instruct customers to dispose of products? Your textbook has 3 pages in this chapter about historical events that have affected materials management and supply chain management. I just have highlighted a few of these events. Like I said, there are 3 full pages of events in your chapter 7 textbook. So, the first major event being when pallets began being used. So, when pallets were invented and we could stack things more efficiently. And then the invention of forklifts. Forklifts allowed us to lift heavier items, to stock them on shelves, to start a vertical integration of materials management so we could stock things on higher shelves for the first time because we were able to pick up full pallets versus having to stock things individually. So then, of course, as we've talked about, when barcoding becomes invented, using barcodes and UPC symbols within our warehouses allows for us to track them. We can also use RFID tags, as we'll talk about later in the chapter. I've also posted a video, and we watched a video in class about how materials management works within a warehouse. Materials handling equipment can be manual or automated. So we have material handling expenditures exceeded 156 billion annually in the United States. When we're looking at materials handling, we have receiving of materials. So we receive inventory, we receive raw materials, we store them until they're ready to go for customers. We receive a customer order and then we pick them. So we go to the shelf, pick the customer's order, and then we package it and ship that to the customer. As I've said, this can be a manual, so people do it, or automated where we use robotics. One of the things to think about, again, with just the cost, is this interesting statistic, which I like from the textbook, about Amazon. So they talk about on how a Cyber Monday, Amazon reports 426 orders per second for a total of over 36 million orders on Cyber Monday. So think about the sheer impact of having to pick, sort, ship, package, and ship 36 million orders, and most of them to Prime members who have 2-day delivery. So that sheer volume of stuff. Another statistic that we talk about with materials handling equipment and just materials handling costs in general. So the statistic about how inefficiencies in materials handling. For example, the example that the book gives is if an employee has to search for a lost item. that on average, if an employee spends 10 minutes a day searching for an item that has been put away incorrectly, that employee will lose an entire 40-hour work week per year. So 10 hours a day translates to 40 hours a year of lost time looking for misplaced items. Some manual materials handling equipment that we can use. So pallets, racks, which are a specific type of shelf, um, drawers, bins that we can put things in, different racks, various racks. And we can see on the next slide, next couple of slides, we'll see some various pictures of warehouse configurations of how we can store our warehouse thing. Of course, what type of shelving we use, how high that shelving is stacked, how far apart that shelving is stacked, all depends on a wide variety of things. So are we using robotics or are we using forklifts? Forklifts need more space between shelves than robots do. How heavy are is our product? Can we stack it on really high shelves, or do we risk shelves buckling or collapsing because we have too heavy of inventory? How large is our inventory? What kind of shelves do we need to store inventory on that's very large? So how and when we store our materials really depends on how we can set up our warehouse based on all of the different factors such as warehouse size. As I said, there's a great video about this that we watched in class that is also posted for you in Canvas. So this warehouse slotting, this is an example of how we can slot individual items on warehouse shelving. So looking at shifting based on weight, putting high weight items on lower shelves, putting high demand items where they can be easily reached, moving low demand items where we don't need them as close. And then automated material handling equipment. So various types of automated materials equipment, robots, carousels, machines such as forklifts. So we have man ride machines such as forklifts, um, robotics that can hold, so unit load robotics that can move an entire pallet, mini load robotics for small parts and bins. Most of the automated materials handling happen in the form of using robotics or some type of conveyor belt or carousel. Okay. So this is an example of how we can use robotics or even an elevator to move heavy loads. Okay. There are advantages and disadvantages of having automated systems. The advantages are cost savings. Even though there's a high initial investment, which is a disadvantage to converting all of our shelves, our entire warehouse over to using robotics, overall there is a cost savings from using robots. It means less human labor. And right now, so we saw, if you look at current events for supply chain management right now, you'll see that several different warehouses for warehouse management are starting to increase their utilization on robots because of their inability to staff all of their open positions. So we have the amount of uptime, so the time that the system is operating. Robots can operate 24/7. They don't need lunch breaks, they don't need to sleep, they do need to recharge their batteries, but we can schedule them in a rotation so that there are always some running. There's a space savings to using robotics. As I said before, if we have a person driving a forklift, our shelves have to be farther apart and we can't store as much stuff in a warehouse. If we have robotics, we can have our shelves closer together. Okay. Some of the disadvantages, as I said, high initial investment. And then we have routine maintenance and repair costs requiring the technical skills and retaining employees. So we need somebody on staff that can fix robots and that can manage robots and understands the technology of watching the robots. Just like we talked about in chapter 6, we can use warehouse management systems or WMS software systems to help us computerize our inventory management system. So that's where we use data transmission, UPC symbols, and other information to store where exactly our materials are within our warehouse. We can also use real-time location systems. So the most common we know are barcodes and radio frequency identification tags. These, so we would put barcode locations. Again, this is something you can see in the video. We have locations that are identified by their barcode or by a scanned radio frequency identification RFID tab. We have global positioning systems, GPS tags. Um, we all have GPS capability within our cell phones, so we can track GPS locations of our products' voice technology. So instead of doing manual picking or manual robotic operations, we can use voice technology where we speak to the robot or machine and it responds to us. And then pick to light system or even put to light systems, as the textbook was talking about, where we pre-package batches based on kind of customer service orders, historical information that allows us to batch items together for easy and quick picking. So order picking is where we go out into our warehouse and fulfill an order. So there's a wide variety of approaches to order picking talked about in the book. The first is discrete picking. So in discrete picking, we fill a single order from start to finish before we start on the next order. So if we have an employee that is filling a customer order, that employee goes out, they fill one order, and then they start on the next order. In batch picking, we collect for a group of orders. So I might have 5 or 10 orders at a time. Batch picking can be beneficial because if I have similar items in the orders, that allows me to fulfill them quickly. Zone picking. So order pickers are assigned to different zones in the warehouse. So I pick within my zone, and then when I've fulfilled that part of the order, I ship it on to the next zone where another order picker finishes off the shipment. Or wave picking. This groups shipment by a given characteristic, often based on the mode of transportation, geographical location. So packing things that are all going to go to Iowa or packing things that are all going to go to Minnesota. Packing things that are getting ready to go overseas on an airplane or rail to shipping. So when we're talking about packaging, we have to think about a different couple of things with our packaging. So general packaging functions. One is marketing. If we have fancy packaging that has information on the outside, it tells the customer what's inside the product. It also helps promote the product. So when you go into a store and you look at the way that products are packaged, you can often tell what's in the product, and usually the package is appealing to try to convince you to buy what's in it. For logistic purposes, we want whatever is inside the product to be protected. We also want it to be easily stacked. We don't want to use weird shape products that can't be stacked on top of each other that can cause issues with logistics. So, what are some benefits of really good packaging? One, lighter packaging. Lighter packaging saves us transportation costs because most transportation costs have a weight component to them. The weight of our cargo is one of the ways that we pay for transportation. Um, Allow for better warehousing and transportation space utilization. For example, IKEA. IKEA um, doesn't stop shipping furniture assembled because they were shipping huge boxes with a lot of air and protective packaging in them. By unassembling their furniture and shipping those items flat, they are able to save millions of dollars just in shipping and warehousing costs. They're easier to stack on pallets. They can get more on a pallet when they're flat. Okay, we can have environmentally conscious packaging, so packaging that's recyclable. We can use returnable containers. So I'm not sure if you've ever ordered anything where you've gotten it and it's like, okay, now send the box back to us and we'll use this for the next shipment. I know I have a delivery service that does that. If you use Schwann's Delivery, for example, um, you can order online and they drop it off in a sealed freezer bag that keeps your order frozen, and then when I want to place my next order, they will come and get that bag and reuse it again. So I can set that out and return it and have it be picked up. Okay. So most of the materials handling and how we package it and sort it is all looking for ways to be one, environmentally friendly, to serve our customers, and to lower costs. And that is the end of chapter 7.